the reality was there was a problem there. There was some, people who, and I'm an attorney. I used to do real estate. I remember so many closings where I'd go to it where somebody would buy a home, and they would borrow 125% of the value of that home. So they were walking away with a check after purchasing that home because there was this assumption, that it's always going to go up. I do believe it goes up over time, but not always in the next year or two. It's a process that happens. I still believe you look over time, nothing has been consistent of growth as real estate. It's one of the things we saw was vast majority of homes and families were continuing to pay for their homes. It's just this tiny little percentage that weren't able to, that walked away, whatever, but it affected the entire system. The confidence of the system crashed because of literally a couple percent of people. And so that's where, again, we need to have other ways of looking at, and unfortunately, credit ratings, it's important. I think about mine. I tell my kids to understand what credit means. Debt and paying on time and all that is really important. But it's just a snippet, it's just a little piece of it. So if you can dig deeper and really understanding kind of the full perspective of someone, it's a much better predictor of how they're going to do with homeownership. And I think that's where right now the current mortgage process is missing out. They're stuck in this old mindset, but there's new ways of looking at it, of really finding people who can show that they're going to be responsible homeowners, that they are doing great work of being responsible with their bills and payments and things like that, but don't necessarily fit with the credit ratings or other things that certain groups out there look at. And again, this is a sector of our economy. So many things have changed over the last 30, 40, 50 years. This is something that really hasn't, of how people get mortgages, how they purchase homes. We used to talk about it that, at a closing, it's like a book of papers that you get of all the different documents that you have to sign and disclosures and things like that. And, it's all important, but it becomes numbing to people. Is there another way for us to be able to recognize value of property, recognize that it's important for anybody who wants to be able to pursue this, that there ought to be a path, that in the next year, 2, 3, 5, that you can set up a path to be able to own a home, own property, and maximize that benefit, like we talked about, the dual value of property, of appreciation of that property and use value of property. And again, I think, I'm excited for what you're doing and others that have met in this process.